over the last few years, AAA gaming has just become more needy, more greedy, more demanding of its consumers, and worse in general. And the best part, they want us to pay for it. They want us to pay for their mistakes, and every time their slop doesn't hit the market with a 15 million sales, they're blaming us and calling us names. Now, I don't think personally that's a winning strategy, and if these companies stop existing, I don't think that's a big deal because you know what? I I know places where I can download things on the internet for free, and I have games that are 20 years old that I can just reinstall and have a good time with. I don't need you, AAA bullshit.
We've just had a glimpse into the future, and basically, if publishers get their way, this completely ghastly advert for Ark Aquatica is going to be the future. Just have a listen to it for yourself.
Ark has
Ark? As in Ark Survival, the dinosaur game? Oh man, this is really probably bad because I have a React video that I kind of wanted to do on it, but I forgot. And the long and short of the company that's running Ark is, yeah, they're not doing a lot better than Ubisoft currently. And they are extremely desperate, and they want to milk everything they can from their player bases, and everything in general is going bad for them. So, the fact that they're trying to milk people even harder, not surprising.
brought you 10 years of unforgettable adventure. All of those journeys, those fights
Is this AI slop? I think this is AI slop.
for survival have been leading to this.
Oh yeah, this is AI slop.
Are you ready? A whole new world is waiting.
Oh yeah, all of this is prime AI slop, boys.
Yeah, that does not sound good. And this ad only exists because Snail Games, the actual, people behind Ark, because they made it. And not only that, they brought this
Yep, that's the company I'm talking about. They are in deep, deep trouble.
advert to GDC. That's because, well, GDC is where the investor types are. It's where the business happens. And believe me, they go wild for this shit. And I'm not just saying that randomly. Those very close to me were actually at GDC this very year, very, very shortly ago. And this type of thing was everywhere. AI was everywhere. It was the talk of the investors, the people who actually have the money that drives what our industry produces. And look, it's not like every company at GDC was wanting to do some sort of terrible AI slop thing. Some were actually using that for development tools, and that's fine. But this sort of thing, replacing actual quality content, this is happening. And it's actually happening beyond this trailer. It's literally happening in video games right now. That's because the backdrop to this is a large fight. It's a fight between the biggest companies in gaming and the voice actors that those companies want to replace. Those actors are now 9 months into
Oh no, are we again gonna have to think about the poor, intolerable, selfish existence that are called your average voice actor? No, 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 no. I don't wanna feel bad for a voice actor, someone who thinks that they are giving the world a irreplaceable product and they should be put on a goddamn pedestal for the fact that they're a voice actor. No, no, no.
a strike, and because it takes a while to make
Listen, if Young Yeah is one of you, then you can't win. It is what it is.
games, it's only now that there's a very real impact in the games that we will play. Or perhaps won't play. Samantha Bayer, who's Karlach in Baldur's Gate 3, put it pretty well when she said this. And remember, she's a voice actor in the industry, so whenever she says things like this, she kind of knows from experience. Here's the quote. Essentially, CEOs pushing AI just want to save money. In the long term, it will destroy their reputation, their company, everything. She's absolutely right. Lots of this has went under the radar, but now we are actually seeing it have an impact. To do this properly, you need to know what the hell's going on. So, since July 2024, big publishers like Electronic Arts, Epic, Activision, Take-Two, and Warner Bros. Have been struck by the Voice Actors Union. And the reason why is fairly simple, right? Every few years, they renegotiate their standard union contract. And these cover voice acting, but also mocap. And it's a thing that overall is called the Interactive Media.
If you don't know what's mocap, neither do I, but it's voice actor shit, so who cares?
Media agreement. Now, this agreement matters because it sets the industry standard terms on pay, conditions, protections, and a whole load more things. And look, if you don't care about those things and you only really care about the, like, is the voice acting good at the end of the day? I get that from a consumer's perspective.
Yeah, I'm a consumer. I consume the final product, not the way it was created. Okay? Listen, the more blood sacrifices made in the name of a good game, the happier I am, okay? That's the only thing that I want to hear about.
And this actually matters to you almost especially. Later on, you'll see how game industry shenanigans literally leads to worse performances. Specifically in this case, a wild...
I mean, by the way, he's gonna be right. My point is, I just don't like voice actors because literally 99% of them are self-obsessed pricks who have inflated ego.
Situation Jennifer Hale had to deal with Mass Effect, which is honestly a testament to how good she is as an actor. Okay, two things kicked off today's story. The first thing is the old agreement expired November 2022, and that meant the negotiations for the next contract automatically began. The second thing then is generative AI coming into the scene. Now, back at late 2022, it was rudimentary. But now it is actually different. Performances can be cloned, and if the rate of progress is anything to go by, within a few years, they will be indistinguishable to the average person who doesn't know any better. I mean, even current ones can actually fool some people. And right now, there are zero protections.
Current ones, I mean, modern AI voices, the good ones, you can't distinguish them from a normal person. You barely can, but you actually need to look for it to actually tell the difference.
So let's make this actually feel real with an actual example in a big game. And this is just one example. It's Call of Duty Black Ops 6, because it was a game
Oh god, Call of Slop 6, holy.
actually not impacted by the strike because the production of this game began under the old agreement. But of course, seeing everything, the actors wanted protections, right? Protections specifically about their voices being cloned. Activision refused to budge. The actors walked, Activision recast them, and they even updated the game to remove people's lines. And it's not like they had an insane ask. Yes, they did want some of their contract updated, but that's because their old contract happened whenever we didn't really have Gen AI voice cloning in the way that we've got today. The material circumstances have not changed, and those actors, just like us, saw the writing on the wall. And do remember, this is the same Activision that has crammed Black Ops 6 full of AI art rewards and just other slop that...
Listen, if you play Black Ops, I mean, so people who play Call of Duty kind of don't care.
We have covered on this channel.
You're literally playing a shooter that has 9 out of 10 kills in Black Ops happen from the back. Okay? Every competitive player's best moment is just shooting 3 guys from the back and they couldn't even react to him. That's the game, okay? Not, of course they're gonna be fine with AI slop. I mean, are they complaining that have the numbers dipped? No.
And I can't say I'm surprised at how this stuff's going, because if any side in this budges, it's going to set a precedent, and that will shape the future of voice and motion capture work in gaming literally for years to come, because it impacts the standard contract. This is existential to the people involved, and they are...
That would not actually set a precedent. He's completely wrong on that. Activision succumbing to the voice actor guild of stupidity would not mean that some other companies are going to be, oh no, we must now do... No, it wouldn't be like that. Now, the opposite would be more true, but still.
Not close to the deal. Here's what the union just said. Quote, "The bargaining group would have you believe that we are close to reaching a deal. This is not the case." That's what they say anyway, but let's see the scale of the problem. This all runs the risk of being intangible and woolly without specifically knowing what people want. So, according to the union, here's what the games companies want to do. They want to create digital replicas, but it's specifically
Yes.
how that is the problem. So, the voice actor would create a library of voice clips that would be used to train, probably fine tune a model that can replicate that actor's performance. Once that is done, the company can then just input text along with instructions to the model in order to generate whatever performance that they want. Now, there's a whole thing about creative bankruptcy, about the process of art actually mattering for the piece that is being made, and the way that sometimes, right, you only
As long, like, listen, AI taking over and making everything slop is a problem, and this technically is a gateway. I don't actually want to diminish this issue because it's gonna affect us in all levels if this kind of happens. But this is something that no one should really care about because this is just literally voice actors, okay? They're not saying they're gonna use AI to write dialogue. They're just gonna use AI to replicate voices. And, well, yeah, this is actually going to be a super big boon for the small budget stuff. If they can, like, for cheap rent it out and get actual good voice actors, because a lot of games suffer from bad voice acting, and that is the indie sector. A lot of games suffer from not having any voice acting at all, and with AI, that would be pretty easy to do. And voice acting is not a real job, fuck you.
discover your best material, your gems, whenever you're actually performing and trying. And that's what the robot cannot replicate. But even putting that aside, right? And the whole process of acting, here's where the companies get wild. And this really is disgusting. The companies want to only pay for the recording sessions. That means that you will be paid for an
Yeah.
asset, the value of which is rooted in your experience and your professional work, and also a part of your likeness, right? Your voice. But then you will not be paid for the ongoing use of that asset, and that asset means
Yeah, no shit. It's like when you pay a plumber to install a shower and you don't have to pay the plumber dividends every time you use the fucking shower. No, yeah.
you are basically no longer needed. That's already bad, but it actually gets worse. So, you know the way that money can kind of be laundered and fiddled about with? Well, what if we could launder performances in such a way that we didn't need to pay people? So let me explain. Beyond being paid for the recording sessions, the companies argue that a performance has got to be, quote, objectively identifiable as the actor for a specific character from a contract. Now, I get that that sounds like a bunch of legalese, so here's the rub. Whatever
Interesting.
model they have based on your performance, they can then use that for whatever they want. And as long as it is not directly attributable to your contract and a character in the game, they won't see it as counting. You won't have to be paid. We can see how that will obviously be exploited to just not pay people. And then, of course,
Yeah.
there's motion capture, where this
I mean, we all know that that's gonna be a part of this. Duh.
goes even further. The argument is that none of the motion capture data is ever really directly translated into a game without a whole bunch of additional work, meaning that once a digital replica has been fed, say, half a dozen people's movements, well, none of those people need to be paid past the first recording, the recording sessions that they do, because the motion that's coming out of whatever model they've trained isn't really identifiable to a specific character for a specific actor. But guess what? It gets worse. Any performances made prior to this contract, right? Or even the likes of, say, YouTube videos.
Okay, you see why this... Okay, I'm gonna explain why this doesn't get worse. A company hires you to do a specific thing for money. You do specific thing for money, and the company gets to do with that thing whatever the hell they please. That's how normally these things happen. This is how life has functioned for literally ever. But now these actors are saying, wait, no. I made something. I did something. Okay, I should be paid for that for infinity. I chose to work for you to make this thing, and you paid me to, but I deserve more of the money because you paid me, because I want to. That's what they're saying. Okay, again, this is literally the shower example I just gave. This is like someone works in a credit card processing company, and someone writes in a piece of code, and now they're collecting dividends from every single time someone does a purchase with a credit card. This is the same as coders demanding a portion of the company's income because they wrote a line of code. You understand how insane this is. You understand why I absolutely detest voice actors. Again, they're just self-obsessed pieces of shit. The whole world has been functioning on this principle that they are trying now to evade. Again, this is the same that you go to work for someplace, the work pays you to create things, and you're like, okay, that's it. I'm no longer gonna work here, and you smash everything. You don't own that. But they want perpetual rights to that. That's stupid. Now, granted, it does kind of sound reasonable for people in these situations probably being paid. If you make an Assassin's Creed game, you're a voice of something, and then they use that voice in a different game. It does kind of sound reasonable that you get paid for that also. But again, is it reasonable? Because that company hired you for this, for you to record the voice. And if they choose to use the voice on other things, it's like, what say do you have there? It's kind of insanity.
Videos. Those are not protected, and those can be used to feed whatever digital model that they're making, then that they can use for whatever they want. The actor doesn't even need to know about this stuff, like when it's being created. And what that means is that as it stands, these companies could quite literally scrape your YouTube videos, scrape your past performances, perhaps ones that you've done for that company, in another game, and they could just replace you and then not.
No, that would be probably illegal because they don't own that stuff.
Need you anymore to, do the whole acting thing. You can see how some engineering types or CEOs would love this and think they're cutting out the silly, meaty middleman who does the performance bit, but those of us who consume art know that the performance actually matters.
Art? I consume art!
So this stuff really is quite spooky. Now, the idea that, say, they could make a fake Captain Price and then fire the voice actor and just use fake Captain Price, can our technology pull that off now?
Yes.
Probably not. Could it pull it?
It can. Well, okay, it can't. There is the Uncanny Valley that we have not surpassed. So, if someone tries to use a fully AI'd voice for a whole game, people are going to notice it. But if it's one short clip, people are not going to notice it because the Uncanny Valley effect is not in play just yet. The Uncanny Valley requires a certain amount of build-up. Okay?
It off in 2 years, which would be the scope of this new contract? I would say absolutely that is the case. And the only way to challenge some of that would probably be through the legal system. It's quite worrying. And the core, most essential fact is that they do not need to be paid past the initial replica creation. And if the company can...
Also, by the way, I just think this is not going to work. Because we, as humans, what we don't understand? Humans, we're really bad at understanding things with what make certain things for us work. We don't understand why we like things. We don't understand why we dislike things. We don't understand why there are deviations, like people who like to be hit and whatnot. It just does something to them. We don't understand any of this crap. The reality is, we have some vague suspicions how it works, but we truly don't understand even 1% of what makes humaning. And, well, this is the thing. I can tell you, this is going to be the first problem that these companies have to deal with this. They're gonna have some person record the voice line of, "Oh my God, the zombies are attacking," blah blah blah, in that sense, and then they're gonna use that to create, I don't know, a romantic voice line for something, but it will not work because the uncanny valley is gonna go in because the voice was recorded for a very specific situation, and now it doesn't work for different situations because you can't make, even if you can alter someone's voice, you can't make a panicked voice talking about zombies suddenly work when being romantic or something like that. It's just not gonna work. People are gonna know this, and people are gonna hate it. So this is not gonna work in general, in my opinion, at all.
Can just keep on using them, even if the union goes on strike again, well, no wonder the union will not budge. Because for the union, this is a humongous existential one-way door problem.
And also, in all of this conversation, remember, the good voice actors are never going to be replaced by AI. The ones that are fearful of this are shittier voice actors, beginners, people who just are barely scraping by, people who should have already found other professions.
Where if it goes the wrong way, going back through that door and changing the terms of all of this is far, far harder. And that is why they are holding fast and they do not want this precedent to be set. And it's very easy to say, oh yeah, well, you know what, unions Lamau. But, here's the thing. These performances actually matter to the art that we consume. They're actually goddamn important. And if everything is just spat out of a machine, even if it is a very good imitation, a very good fake, that's not going to be the real thing. So yes, it's properly spooky. And with that said, let's talk about the direct impact. The reason why you've probably not felt this strike is because whenever the last television and film strikes happened, it was an immediate impact. It meant no more actors or directors on marketing tours, and then movies and shows just
Yeah, actually, if you consume that type of media, you know that the last strike didn't change anything. Uh, Hollywood was still woke shit, and it's still woke shit now. Literally nothing has changed.
felt really off for a while because they ended up making do with whatever they had done pre-strike. It was a shit show. It was bad for the stuff that we got. The companies, rather than wait and do it right, were perfectly happy to just feed us half-baked slop. Now, the game strike has got some more limitations. Of course, first, there's contracts signed under the previous terms effectively being grandfathered in, and because games take such a long time to make, that does mean the strike's impact has been kinda delayed. Until now. There is, say, the Call of Duty story, that's not specifically the strike, but it's deeply related. And then there's the case of Zenless Zone Zero, where, similar to the Call of Duty situation, actors found out that they'd been recast in their roles the same time that fans did, which is lovely. And what's wild is that these strikes
Wait, isn't this the situation where the voice actors are literally getting destroyed by the There is, I'm not watching it, but there is some video on my list to watch where some voice actors, I think from Genshin Impact, are destroying themselves because, again, voice actors are entitled shits.
strikes do not require recasts. This literally does not need to happen, and that's because even if companies refuse to meet the new agreement terms, they can simply choose to respect their actors in ongoing contracts that they've already got. Other studios have done this. One example is Destiny 2. They launched a patch with a note that said that some voice lines wouldn't
Who cares? Destiny is dead.
be present. Riot Games say that they're not recording any new VO in English at all until the strike is clear. And then Hideo Kojima said that their upcoming games, OD and Fizzant, they have had their motion capture, recording, and even casting suspended. I mean, in that case, it will actually impact when that game gets shipped and parts of how it'll be made. And in most of these cases, it's actors putting pressure on the companies by simply not taking roles on and kind of hoping that they will not be replaced. And when they do that, it's not them throwing their toys out of the pram.
This all looks so goddamn cringe.
It is literally them foregoing being paid and doing their job and making a commitment to continue not doing their job because they are trying to band together to get reasonable protections as a group. And what does twist the knife here is that there are far, far better ways to handle this. There are companies who are being reasonable, and the way in which they're being reasonable proves that a lot of this stuff for the big companies is basically bullshit. If the new agreement is so onerous and unfair to companies that it really would damage their operations, how is it that the Guild says that 160 games have actually signed the new agreement? How can they do that while the
I don't know. Maybe because they need the final touches on a game to ship it, otherwise they go bankrupt. That's one idea. Uh, Maybe because these games don't know if they're gonna make future games because they don't know if their project is gonna succeed. That's a second idea. Uh, maybe because they don't care. That's a third idea. Maybe because they don't have AI capabilities in their companies, and this doesn't currently affect them. That's a fourth idea. There are so many options for this.
largest companies can't. I mean, surely the smaller companies are the most at risk to, actors being more expensive or something. So clearly, this new agreement is not too onerous, and even outside the US, this is still like a big deal because the US standards define what's seen as normal everywhere else. And yes, that's opinion or analysis, but it's actually substantiated. EA just found that out when the entire French cast of Apex Legends refused to sign, and they explicitly cited the publisher's AI model clause requirement, because it actually turns out Respawn
LOL, Apex Legends, who cares?
had avoided it until then, but it seems that EA moved in and basically mandated that clause was in the new agreement. And that shows that EA are probably taking this seriously. I mean, if they were intent to fight the union as hard as they can, well, yeah, they would change an agreement that Respawn is doing. And there's further worldwide impact as well. People are spooked. It's even hit the likes of Supergiant, who are, of course, the Hades devs. Talking about all of this, the Athena voice actor said that they might be replaced because Supergiant wasn't signing an interim contract. Now, fans were pissed at Supergiant, and I can totally see why. Supergiant did have an answer. They said that they respected opinions, that they do not have AI plans, and that they do not plan on recasting. Certainly is good, but we should keep an eye on how that develops. They also pointed out, though, that they've never signed up for a Screen Actors Guild like union contract because most of their VO has actually been from their developers. I guess fair enough. It's a situation with a smaller company, but the
Wait. So you're telling me the usual suspect is lying about something? Wow. Shit, who would have expected this? And and above all, it's not just the usual suspect, it's a voice actor, the usual suspect. Wow! It's almost like my immeasurable hate against voice actors is completely justified so magically, how constantly. Jeez. Wow. Anyway, that was Bellier. 10 out of 10. Look at Bobby Kotick. He is a true G amongst G's. Anyway, bye.